travel excursion to some great locations. Minnesota has so much to offer, which is why I love traveling down to Wabasha and staying at the historic Anderson House Hotel. Opened in 1856, this beautiful hotel offers comfortable accommodations, has a delicious restaurant, and even a speakeasy in the basement to unwind with a drink. Located next to the Mississippi River and on Main Street, there is a lot of sightseeing and shopping to do too. To get more information, go to theandersonhousehotel.com. Are you one of thousands of individuals who know you have psychic abilities but don't know how to tap into your higher self? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who offers classes that can help you reach your goals. Refined Divine holds classes Monday and Thursday at her 2 locations and via Zoom. Classes consist of manifestation, learning psychic abilities, shadow work, and healing trauma. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
This is Psychic Medium Deb. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, cloudy with a low of 27, then Tuesday, sunshine with temperatures of 25. Take a break from holiday cooking and leftovers with a wonderful meal from an Eat Local Minnesota restaurant. They serve cuisines from close to home and around the world. Check out the list of restaurants at eatlocalminnesota.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us, share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakken.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakken. Thank you very much for joining us. We are the Monday before Christmas. It is, I don't know. Is it getting crazy for you? I mean, I always, I've always been kind of thought about as kind of taking the easy way out of a lot of things. And, without really having close family or anything, I have to admit, I don't really take part in the Christmas preparations like families generally do. That being said, of course, I know if I wanted to, I can go over see my sister, or even Refined Divine had offered me to come and join them for their Christmas celebrations. But sometimes I have to admit, a man who does a radio show in the middle of the night, he is a bit of a loner. It's just kind of how it is. And so there are times that it's just nice to be by yourself. I mean, it's kind of weird that Christmas is one of them or whatever, but it is kind of what it is for me. And it's just something I've kind of come to the understanding over the years, because if, for a long time when I was married and everything else, you kind of all did the whole thing. And finally, rightly or wrongly, I just had decided I just want to kind of do my own thing for Christmas. And that is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be having some good food and check in with people and just say hi. But sometimes we do so much, it just, and I do my work at the station during the day, and then I do the show at night and everything. It's just kind of like, sometimes it's just nice to have a little bit of a break. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And so I'm just excited getting towards Christmas. I love it. I have great memories of it as a child. And one of the things that I always thought was very interesting was the idea, and it was something that I've never really thought about here, was the idea of ghost stories around Christmas. And why that's interesting to me is because it is something that that is actually around us the whole time. It's always there. Except I don't know if a lot of people really think about it, to be perfectly honest. And that's just one of those things that I kind of want to talk about tonight. And it goes back to me. And before I get too far, I want to say, if you have any Christmas traditions that you really like, please put them in the comments. I'd love to know what your Christmas traditions are that you really enjoy every year. It could be as simple as that there's a certain food that you only have this time of year if you're in the UK or even in the US, and you pull Christmas crackers, that sort of thing. I'd love to know everything that that you are what you find very enjoyable around Christmas. I'd love to talk about that. It was probably, I don't know how many years ago, but I was watching A Christmas Carol and talking with some people about it, and they talked about how it's a ghost story. And I thought, wait, what do you mean it's a ghost story? It's a Christmas story. It's a story set around Christmas, and that's really what it is. It's just a Christmas. It's been done by the Muppets. I mean, it's just a Christmas, story. And they're like, "Are you sure?" And it's like, "Yeah, it's a Christmas story where a man is visited by 3 ghosts." Oh, yeah, it's a Christmas story, isn't it? And it's just like that, sort of like, it's so obvious, it's so in our face. And it's probably everybody else on earth had just always thought of it as a ghost story. But to me, A Christmas Carol, I just, it's in Christmas. And I think it's one of the things that we're going to be talking about today. It is one of those things that I think really separates certainly US culture from culture almost anywhere else, because this is something that is permeates around the world, this idea of ghost stories for Christmas, but not really in the US. And I think that might be changing a little bit, but it's really interesting, I think. Now, Courtney says in the comments, she says, we made tamales. We did today 3 flavors. Oh, that was very cool. That's really cool. And then she goes on to say, I remember the Disney version when I was a kid. I always watched. Creeped out a little, but I loved it. Are you meaning Mickey's Christmas Carol, which is fantastic? And that was still, I think, at a time, and maybe people think otherwise now, but to me, it's still at a time that Disney still knew how to put a little bit of scare into their animation. Not enough to be horrific, but just enough to be just enough to just kind of get you a little bit. And I think, like, one of the ones I think of is in Mickey's Christmas Carol was, it looks like Scrooge is being, like, thrown to hell by the what is that? Is it Christmas? Is there a Christmas future? I really don't know this. I know the story, but I don't know it that well, I guess. And it's played by one of those original Disney characters, the bulldog guy, and he throws him into this fiery pit, and it's like really dark and very creepy. And then he wakes up in his bed or something like that. Scrooge McDuck. And it's they did such a good job, I think, back then. I don't know if they still do. I just haven't really watched, but especially those. And that was like 83, I think, that came out with. A little bit of trivia, because I'm sure everyone really cares. That was the last Disney film to feature the original voice of Donald Duck. He had what's Clarence, can't remember his name, but he had been doing it since the inception of the character back in the 30s. And in 1983 or whatever was the final time that he played Donald Duck. And then they had someone else take over, and the person who had taken the voice of Mickey for many years, this was one of his first major outings as Mickey Mouse's voice. So kind of a parting of the ways, passing of the guards, whatever you want to call it. But if you have a chance, if you hadn't, oh, look at that, we have a Disney expert here, Clarence Nash. Thank you. But you got to give me points for knowing the first name right off the top of my head, right? So yeah, look at you. Now, Courtney, did you look that up or did you know that? Either way, I'm not here to judge. I'm just curious. Okay. And also, what flavors did you make for your tamales? I'd love to know that as well. It's going to be a bit of a loose show tonight because we're getting close to Christmas, and I'm excited for it. Even if I'm going to just kind of hang out by myself, I'm going to be excited. Okay, no worries, Courtney. I just was curious, and I would have done the same thing too. So the whole ghost story, Christmas thing, it's a huge, and we're going to get into this a little bit more. It's a huge part of British culture, and I'm a big fan of British television. I think I might have mentioned it once or 100 times. And so as like right now, there's like I'm watching some great British television ghost stories for Christmas, and amongst those would be like have anyone ever heard of the stories of M.R. James, for example? Last year, I watched one, and this should be very familiar to those who are, that we know our paranormal stuff. There's a writer, author named Nigel Neal, okay? One of my favorites in the UK, more for television than like books or anything. And he had written back in 1953, he'd written a story called Quatermass Experiment. That was aired on BBC Live from Alexandra Palace. And I've been to Alexandra Palace in the UK, and it's just this. You go up there and you're just like, how is this even a studio? It's so small, and they did this whole thing where it's all about launching rockets and alien invasions and taking over Westminster Abbey, all from this little room. And he had gone on to write a lot of incredible television. And then he did, in 1972, if I'm not mistaken, he did something that paranormal investigators will know what I'm talking about here. He wrote a television play called The Stone Tape. Now, the Stone Tape is a theory that, and I'm still not 100% sure where the theory actually originates from, because I don't think it actually originates from Nigel Neal per se, but he definitely was the one, I think, that really brought it to the forefront, at least in the UK. And the story of the play called The Stone Tape is this company, this high-end company that takes over a castle to do experiments because they are charged with trying to create a new form of recording media. They think that videotape, and this is 1972, so videotape was still very much an option. They think that videotape is going to be going away sooner than it actually really did, and that they needed to come up with something else. And the theory was, can you use stone to record? Because stone is much harder to destroy. Tape is very fragile, very flimsy, easy to ruin. With stone, obviously not. And what ends up happening is, like I said, they're in a castle, right? This is UK in the castle. What more can you possibly imagine? And one of the people working on it, played by Jane Asher, she starts to get visitations of spirits, but just as what we think the Stone Tape is today, it's not intelligent spirit. Like it's not interacting with her. It's playing the same scene over and over and over again. And as what we've always thought with the Stone Tape theory is that if anything gets, I'm using quotes, recorded to tape, that it is because it's something so horrific in that person that it actually imprints that onto the stone itself, and then something triggers it to replay it. whether that person really intended it to be or not, that's how that works. So it's very interesting. I think it's a fantastic theory. And my background is with, video editing, videotapes, all that sort of thing. It's a passion of mine, actually. So that was right up my alley, only to, once I got into the paranormal field a number of years later, to understand that that's actually something that people, believe. And I believe it as well. I think, why not? There's a lot of, there's a lot to those stones that can capture that sort of energy, because that's what it is. It's capturing energy, right? And it's very interesting, and I absolutely love it. And I looked to see when that first aired on BBC One in the UK, and it was on December 25th, 1972. It was a ghost story for Christmas. And that was at the point that I realized, really got a better understanding of it. And it just made me love British television even more, because I can see that Christmas, as much as it's a time for family and friends, it's also a time for spirits. And doesn't have to be bad. Doesn't necessarily, I mean, Christmas Carol itself, there's scary elements to it, but it's not a scary story. It's a story of redemption, isn't it? And hopefully, we don't see what happens to Scrooge, after Christmas Day. Hopefully he continues down the path of good, but we don't know. Maybe he doesn't. Anybody ever see a version of a Christmas Carol called Blackadder's Christmas Carol? Now, once again, British television, and the whole series of Blackadder is based on a character named Edmund Blackadder, and each season takes place in a different time period. He doesn't travel through time. It's basically a reset, the same characters in a different time period, and the stories that go from there. There really isn't any connection between the two that we've ever seen of all the series until Blackadder's Christmas Carol. And Scrooge McAdder is in this, played by Rowan Atkinson, is a super nice, wonderful person. He gave away everything for Christmas. And then Christmas Eve, he goes to bed, and the ghost of Christmas past comes in, and he's just like, oh, there's no need to, I just wanted to say hello, basically. There's no need to show you anything scary from your past, because you are just really good, but your ancestors, they were horrible. And Scrooge McAdder, or whatever his name is, he's like, well, I'm curious, what did my ancestors look like? And he starts showing like bits, and they're new bits from the other Blackadder series back in those different time periods, to show that Edmund Blackadder is just a nasty, nasty human being. By the time this show is over, this wonderful, nice Blackadder, who is meant to be Scrooge, actually turns from very good to actually a nasty human being, because this ghost keeps showing him what his ancestors did in the past. And there you go. He's now just like them. So I don't know. If you have a chance, tweak that out. I don't think you have to be a fan of the series, actually, to really understand what's going on. That was actually my first look at that series as it happens. And I just fell in love with it. I think it's really good. Do you have a favorite Christmas Carol adaptation? I'd love to know what that is, because there's a lot, isn't there? There's absolutely a lot. Why don't we go ahead and do this? I want to go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, let's get into the history of ghost stories for Christmas. I mean, let's go all the way back beyond, Victorian England. Let's talk about what we know and share your thoughts as well. Folks, don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakken here. 'Tis the season. Instead of cramming into the family car to hunt for holiday lights, let Minneapolis Trolley Tours do the driving. Join us for the enchanting, merry and bright Christmas light tour, where we glide through a winter wonderland filled with twinkling lights, festive decor, and plenty of holiday cheer. This uplifting experience wraps you into the holiday magic from the comfort of a cozy, festively decorated, climate-controlled trolley. You'll enjoy dazzling light displays, scenic routes only our trolleys can access, and live narration, never pre-recorded, that brings the sights to life. There are multiple photo stops perfect for holiday cards and memory making with family and friends. Before or after the tour, browse the holiday market inside the historic Pillsbury Club, featuring handcrafted gifts, artisan goods, and locally made treasures. The perfect place to find something special for everyone on your list. Tours depart from the Pillsbury Club. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets. Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Greg Bakken here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey, bacon, avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. Greg Bakken here. It's nice to get out of the Twin Cities and take some travel excursion to some great locations. Minnesota has so much to offer, which is why I love traveling down to Wabasha and staying at the historic Anderson House Hotel. Opened in 1856, this beautiful hotel offers comfortable accommodations, has a delicious restaurant, and even a speakeasy in the basement to unwind with a drink. Located next to the Mississippi River and on Main Street, there is a lot of sightseeing and shopping to do too. To get more information, go to theandersonhousehotel.com. And if you haven't done so yet and you live locally and you're still trying to figure out what to get that person who likes to go out to eat and maybe have some really good food, folks, get some gift certificates for Maverick's Real Roast Beef. I mean, if someone you love is really into good food, likes meat, I mean, it's roast beef, it's the perfect thing to get. And even though say that you don't even really live by Roseville, I live out in St. Michael, it's worth the drive to go in and treat yourself to a Maverick sandwich. So maybe there might be ways to get the gift certificates beyond just going in. I don't know, but it's worth it. If you go in to get a gift certificate, get a sandwich for yourself. They're just amazing. They are so good. And it's just one of those things that makes me so happy. When I just have one, I could just feel the smile on my face. So if you have the opportunity to, I would say get the person in your life who likes to have some really good food. Get them a gift certificate for Maverick's Real Roast Beef, and I think they're going to be very happy with you. We are talking about ghost stories for Christmas. Before we get to that, Courtney wanted to share that she is about her tamales, because I asked her, what is it that she is, what flavors did she make? Because she made 3. She did verde or green salsa. Thanks for pointing that out to me. And now I feel dumb. Just kidding. I know what verde is. Verde or green salsa and chicken. Rojo. See, now I messed myself up because I said rojo wrong. So never mind. You were right to spell it out to me like an infant. Rojo, red peppers. See, now other words. Is that guajillo and ancho chilies with pork, my grandma's favorite to make, and rojas jalapeno, queso fresco, and onions with cilantro. I love cilantro. I never can understand people who, no offense to people who don't like it or say it tastes like soap or something like that. Isn't it funny how we all taste different things? And she said that did some testers with chorizo and onions, jalapeno peppers, just to try it and see what they tasted like. I also made masa for my for my spec needs for your special needs son, and he likes just the masa. I have a feeling you're a very good cook. That's what I'm getting out of these. I feel like that you are probably very, very, very good. So I'm very excited, and I hope that you have a really lovely Christmas. That sounds amazing. Let's see here. Ghost stories for Christmas. We talked a little bit about the English side of it all, which obviously I'm biased. I love British stuff. But as I'm sure is not too much of a surprise to anybody. I mean, obviously, first of all, Christmas being a pagan ritual, really, that ancient. Goes down to ancient winter traditions, way back, way back. Midwinter was long believed to be a time when the boundary between the living and the dead was thin. Pagan festivals like Yule included spirits, omens, and supernatural storytelling during the darkest days of the years. And quite frankly, who wouldn't want to do that at that time? It's ghost stories, when it can be scary, when it's dark like that. I mean, it sounds absolutely incredible. Then going over to like medieval Europe, Christmas was part of a longer winter season when people gathered indoors by firelight. This is where oral storytelling flourished, and tales of ghost miracles and moral warnings were common. And I mean, that's really that's what really most stories, but a lot of ghost stories, especially, the Christmas ones, once again, A Christmas Carol is a very moral story. And it's just, like I said before, a story of redemption as well. So we move forward. We went in medieval Europe. Now we jump over to Tudor and Stuart England. Christmas revels often include spooky tales told late at night after feasting. Ghost stories are seen as both as entertainment and moral instruction. And then in the 18th century, printed chap books and magazines began publishing supernatural tales during winter. Ghost stories became a popular form of fireside amusements rather than purely religious warnings. And I think this is, and I think one of the things that might actually kind of push this a little bit is the fact that it moved from a oral storytelling to printed. And the thing that always makes it incredible for me is anyone through, what, for like, say, the Bible, say the Old Testament is said that story had been passed down for what, hundreds of years, and that was all orally done until it was transcribed. Which, I mean, that's the case. That's amazing. And when I say if that's the case, please don't think that I'm trying to put any doubt about it, but it's so incredible. And I'm speaking as someone who's, been, a Catholic for years and years and years. So once again, like we said, for the 18th century, ghost stories became a popular form of fireside amusement rather than purely religious warnings. Victorian era. Now, this is really where, for us, sorry, there's just this hair on my microphone that is absolutely driving me crazy, and I can't. There we go. It's like I look down when I'm trying to read, and I see this hair, and then I try to grab it, and you can't grab it, and it's there. I mean, it's not like I'm like don't know how to remove that stuff. It's so ridiculous. Thankfully, we were able to do it on the air. Victorian England is where I think our modern Christmas is formed, based on what Prince Albert brought over from Germany, such as stuff like a Christmas tree. So when Queen Victoria, when Prince Albert brought over the Christmas tree and Queen Victoria put it up for Christmas, that's when that took off in the UK. So it's interesting to think that what we got from Christmas, like how we celebrate it now, is something that's been around for a long time. It's been around for what, 140 years. it's not a whole lot, to be perfectly honest. But it's all obviously from rituals that have been going on for years and years before that. Courtney says a ghost hair. Yeah, it's gone now. Well, I think it's gone. Maybe it'll come back. So with the Victorian era, which it becomes the golden age of Christmas ghost stories, and so long dark evenings and candlelit homes made winter ideal for this sort of eerie storytelling. That hasn't changed at all. But the Victorians moved to, they really loved the supernatural, seances, and spiritualism. Remember, that was very big, and that obviously wasn't big just in the UK. It was huge in the US as well. And I as I often do, I will point to Abraham Lincoln. Mary Todd Lincoln was very much a spiritualist, very, very much one. But what we don't know a whole lot, and if you haven't had a chance to, I would highly recommend. I had author Troy Taylor on the program back in March, and we discussed his book One Night in Washington. It is one of the best books I've ever read, and I've read some very good books. And I just what he has uncovered and the way he sets it up, it's fantastic. Talking about what leads up to the assassination of President Lincoln, but also how Lincoln is aware that this is going to happen. Not so much as like he could tell you it's going to be in April of 1865, but more of that the premonition of his death was very strong. And that's because spiritualism was with him as well. So many people always talk about the fact that spiritualism was really a Mary Todd Lincoln thing, and that she was the one that used mediums and stuff. And that's not entirely true, because it was always, I think what was always kind of, put out there is like she was into this, and President Lincoln, he just was kind of like humoring her about it. And that's not true, because if you don't know this already, and I've read this in Troy Taylor's book, is that Lincoln had his own medium when it came to the Civil War and the decisions that he made for the Civil War. She was literally in the war room with them, and being a part of this sort of like decision making, and everything that he wanted to do, he would run past her. And that's just something that's really interesting. So once again, like I said, the Victorians loved the supernatural, seances, and spiritualism. Christmas gatherings often ended with ghost stories read aloud. But then Charles Dickens, we've been talking about him all night. He came in 1843, and he wrote A Christmas Carol. And he wrote actually multiple Christmas ghost stories, blending morality, redemption, and the supernatural. None of them were quite as taken as A Christmas Carol. But the popularity of all this helped normalize spooky tales as festive entertainment. And once again, I do think that there are probably some of us out there who, us Americans, who not maybe quite getting the fact that this was a ghost story. You know what I mean? That it's like, oh, okay, this is a ghost story. And maybe you're all just a lot smarter than I am. So and then when you get into the Edwardian times, which is the early 1900s, that's where you get the M.R. James, the Sheridan Le Fanu, the E.F. Benson. They wrote ghost stories specifically meant for Christmas reading. This is where they start to corner the market, so to speak. And many were first read aloud to friends on Christmas Eve, which, is it me, or like Christmas Eve, in a sense, is really Christmas for me. Christmas Day is kind of the aftermath. And I know I have this wrong. I totally imagine a lot of you are probably just like, what is he talking about? But honestly, Christmas Eve is like the real fun, the build up, and it's kind of, there's that eeriness to it. Christmas Day, it's great. But like no one's going to want to hear a ghost story for Christmas at 7 p.m. on Christmas Day. this is where they start, production companies, TV channels, whatever, start making their own adaptations of all of this. And so that itself is where we start seeing more and more and more of this. So it's really interesting. And this is where we, I think, start to come in on it, because we are actually, we're the recipients of this, aren't we? The BBC became especially influential in keeping the tradition alive in Britain. They started with radio in the 20s. They were doing, I'm sure they're doing them before the 60s, but a lot of the stuff that exists is all from the 60s going into the 70s, maybe less or so in the 80s and 90s. But then when you have people like Mark Gatiss, a prolific author of such things that are kind of the dark, like he co-created the miniseries Dracula of Stephen Moffat. He also did a lot of work with Doctor Who. Moffat and Gatiss also co-created Sherlock. And so it's that type of storytelling that's very much at play here. And then let's see here. British TV adaptations of M.R. Jane stories often aired at Christmas on BBC. Podcast, books, and seasonal horror anthologies have brought the tradition back. It's people like us that were talking about it. And the idea of cozy horror has made Christmas ghost stories appealing again to really a lot of people. And I find that to be very interesting. And the tradition survives as a nostalgic, atmospheric alternative to standard holiday fare, especially strong, as we mentioned, in the UK, growing internationally through streaming and podcasts. And one of the things I want to do here is I want to kind of take a look at why ghost stories never really took strong roots in the US, because I think that itself is very interesting, because it is no reason not to. But when I think of Christmas in the US, I do think of like a lot of like Hallmark Christmas movies, and I'm not saying that started with the Hallmark Christmas movies, but that's the thing that, that has been a tradition that goes back, to the 40s, 30s, 40s. Look at like White Christmas, a fantastic film, but it's always about like love and happiness and a great happy ending and whatever else, but no ghosts. That has been conveniently left out over here in the US, generally speaking. Now, Carol says, I agree. Christmas Eve was always our special night to celebrate. The next day, of course, was Santa in the morning, but an open house to have anyone over, especially had nowhere to go, and a very open door for friendship. Oh, that's so nice. That's really sweet. I like that. And that's how it should be. The way that Carol brings it up, and I've seen a couple people kind of say it this way as well, basically. And if I'm misrepresenting you, Carol, let me know. But it's like, it sounds like, in a sense, Christmas Eve is kind of that core family, and you kind of have this little celebration, and it's just this intimate little thing. And Christmas Day is for everybody. And Beth just summed it up just how I said it. Beth just said the same thing. Christmas Eve is our family celebration. Christmas Day is beer and football. I can get behind that. I could do that. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? I'm all about that. Why not? Why don't we go ahead, take our second break here. When we come back, let's talk about why this isn't as big. This ghost story thing isn't as big in the U.S. for Christmas. And also, anything you want to share about Christmas, put it in the comments. We'll talk about it. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AIM 950. Greg Bakken here. 'Tis the season. Instead of cramming into the family car to hunt for holiday lights, let Minneapolis Trolley Tours do the driving. Join us for the enchanting Merry and Bright Christmas Light Tour, where we glide through a winter wonderland filled with twinkling lights, festive decor, and plenty of holiday cheer. This uplifting experience wraps you into the holiday magic from the comfort of a cozy, festively decorated, climate-controlled trolley. You'll enjoy dazzling light displays, scenic routes only our trolleys can access, and live narration, never pre-recorded, that brings the sights to life. There are multiple photo stops perfect for holiday cards and memory making with the family and friends. Before or after the tour, browse the holiday market inside the historic Pillsbury Club, featuring handcrafted gifts, artisan goods, and locally made treasures. The perfect place to find something special for everyone on your list. Tours depart from the Pillsbury Club. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets. Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Greg Bakken here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. Greg Bakken here. It's nice to get out of the Twin Cities and take some travel excursion to some great locations. Minnesota has so much to offer, which is why I love traveling down to Wabasha and staying at the historic Anderson House Hotel. Opened in 1856, this beautiful hotel offers comfortable accommodations, has a delicious restaurant, and even a speakeasy in the basement to unwind with a drink. Located next to the Mississippi River and on Main Street, there is a lot of sightseeing and shopping to do too. To get more information, go to theandersonhousehotel.com. And join me tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakken. It is the last new show of 2025, and from then I'm going to take a break, and I'll be returning on January 5th, 2026. But tomorrow I am joined by psychic medium Refined Divine. Deb and I, we're going to be talking about experiences, and one of the things that came up when Deb was with us for one question readings last Wednesday was basically kind of the role of the paranormal investigator and what it feels like, what some of these people want to put themselves through because A, they think that they should, B, they don't have the sense to think like seriously about how dangerous it can be to do certain things without grounding, without any sort of protection. And we kind of want to talk a little bit about that because it is something that is very, I don't know. I think it's kind of troublesome. And I want to talk about a couple things that I have seen people do over the years. And I'm going to ask the question, why people do this? Why do people put themselves in harm's way when it comes to paranormal investigations by not doing protection, by not trying to really think through what they're trying to do? Because it feels like that there's some people who think that if they're going to look tough if they do certain things. And Deb and I tomorrow, we're going to talk about that. And it should be very interesting. We are talking about ghost stories for Christmas. And as we got Adam in the comments, hello, Adam. As an altar boy growing up and doing midnight mass Christmas Eve felt spooky to me. It felt, and Christmas Eve to me still feels spooky, but a comfortable spooky. I can't help but agree with all of that, to be honest. And I was an altar boy as well. I never did midnight mass. I don't think I ever did. But I mean, there's, and we've talked about this before. Adam and I both being Catholic, and I know a number of you that I've talked to are Catholic. You put aside all the stuff that is troublesome about the Catholic Church, and we know what we're talking about here. We don't need to get into it. You take away the stuff that is just downright embarrassing, ethically immoral, horrible, the stuff that's been plaguing the church, but you think about what it's meant to be and all the kind of the secret sort of rituals and stuff. it's a very, to me, that's so, I don't know, is the word appealing okay to say in these situations? Because it is just, there's something so just undefined. And, maybe it's the mystery that keeps a lot of us interested in it. And, that's why we had on Father Bob way back in, what was it, April, May, whatever, talking about the conclave, because it is something that we don't know about. We don't know what happens behind those closed doors. And, and insert whatever joke you want from that last statement. But I'm just talking about, the part of the Catholic Church that is actually meant to actually help people. But so anyway, ghost stories. And we talked about really being strong in the UK. Here's some possible reasons why it never held strongly in the US. First of all, back in, say, the 1600s is a lot of Puritan, right? Puritan roots, early American culture, especially in New England, viewed ghost stories as morally suspect or superstitious. Winter storytelling leaned towards sermon, scripture, and moral instruction rather than the supernatural. Maybe that's what I should start doing. Maybe I can lean the show more towards sermon and scripture. Well, basically, who knows how Deb and I are going to talk about what some of these people are doing with their investigating habits. So that might be a little bit like that. And the thing about Christmas itself, it wasn't wildly celebrated in the US until the mid 1900s. So it wasn't always in the center like it is now of like the holidays, the big holidays. Some colonies actually banned Christmas celebrations outright. So, clearly there wasn't a Best Buy back then. And American Christmas traditions became sentimental, family focused, and child centered over time. Ghosts clashed with emerging images of warm, wholesome holidays. And that's so true. Now, ghost stories did appear around the time a bit in bits in pieces. Obviously, Washington Irving wrote The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and it's set in the autumn winter season, reflects old world folklore. But I personally always think of that as Halloween. I never think of it as anything else. And every Halloween, I'm going to pull out the Blu-ray of the Disney animation of Ichabod Crane and Mr. Toad, and and we talk about actually Courtney. We talked about Mickey's Christmas Carol, and there's some kind of scary bits in it. No, that ending to the Ichabod Crane animated feature, that is intense. That is absolutely intense. And the pacing and the quality of the animation is probably some of the best animation of all time. And it is so just in your face and so frightening, and just rushes your adrenaline. It is some of the best ever, and I'm always watching that over Halloween. It's truly a favorite of mine. Let's see here. Some American periodicals published winter ghost stories, but without banning them, or excuse me, branding them as Christmas tales, and that's in the 19th century. And then once again, Charles Dickens, his story was hugely popular in the US when it came over here, but Americans focused on its sentiment and redemption, not its ghost, which is exactly what I've been saying. It's just like, oh, okay. The ghost became symbolic rather than scary. And it's just so weird that it's like, when you really think about it, it's like, no, this is exactly what it is. This is a ghost story. So, that I find that very funny. Now, writers like Ambrose Bierce and Henry James wrote ghost stories, but they weren't seasonal or festive as well. And this was in the late 1800s. And really what happened, and this is the thing, is that basically the American audience here, the US, we kind of just put our scary in a different place. And so where in the UK, Halloween wasn't nearly as big as it is here. The U.S. embraced Halloween as the primary spooky storytelling season. So there wasn't really much to talk about when it came to Christmas about that. That Christmas is a time of Santa Claus. Oh, you're saying Jesus too. Well, do you see a lot of Christianity around these days when it comes to Christmas? Very interesting. Very interesting how we still it's kind of isn't it sort of an allegory in the sense of how Christmas really started, because a lot of people don't put a lot of notice to the fact that Christmas is a pagan ritual, really. Yule, and we have Yuletide, and now as further we're getting along, I think the whole Christianity portion of it is going to fall away more and more. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I mean, you think about it. I mean, you talk to a lot of younger people, like kids. You wonder what their answer would be when it when you ask them, well, what's the true meaning of Christmas? Now, if they say it to be good to each other, be good humans, what's the harm, right? In my opinion. Let's see here. Let's see. Thanksgiving. They did some ghost stories. But I mean, ghost stories around Thanksgiving. What? No, that doesn't seem that doesn't seem right at all. And so we forget about that altogether. I mean, what the ghost turkey? I mean, I don't know. Let's see here. And then I think one of the things that is kind of emerging more and more over time is the fact that they're not so much ghost stories, but they're Christmas horror films like Black Christmas, Krampus, Gremlins. I mean, that's the sort of thing that, okay, let's put it out there, Die Hard, right? So this is it's kind of a take on it, but there isn't that like truly like ghostly sort of thing about it. It's more of the just taking a period of time and turning it into some sort of big nasty slasher film or something like that. Have to admit, the slasher films are not my favorites. I'm not a big fan of it. I used to be more so, but I don't know. I just maybe became just a big, a big sentimental sort of person that I don't want to see that in any kind of form. I remember getting mad at my dad. It's actually kind of sad, actually, because it was the last time I actually spoke to him, because we didn't realize that he would die so suddenly, and he was in a hospital, and we're watching. He loved those slasher films, and he put it on, like Sci-Fi was running, because during like the day on Saturday they'd run them back to back, those dumb films, and right away, like the first 2 minutes of the film, like someone's arm gets cut off by like a chainsaw or something. I'm like, you know what? If you're going to watch this, I'm going to leave. I said to him, I don't want to see this. I don't want to. I just have no interest. And then part of it too is like they're going to like do the same to like a small monkey or something. Obviously not real, but just like nope. I don't want to see it. I don't. And he kind of laughed at me like, oh come on, like nope. I do not want to see any of that. So that's one of my last conversations with my father, was telling him I'm leaving. I'm gonna like a kind of a baby. I'm gonna leave if you don't change the channel. But that's kind of how that went. So yeah, I just not quite the same. If any of you have the opportunity to, you should see if you can find any of like the M.R. James stories or anything like that. And I think there's going to be some streaming of certain ghost stories that like the BBC had put out and stuff. More than likely, they're going to be on BritBox. If you have BritBox, take a look at them. Some are, just kind of like, okay, this is interesting, not great. And some are really good, just like with everything. Some things are good, some things are not. Now, if you could tweak out the Stone tape, Nigel Neal, 1972. I don't think I have the Blu-ray of it. I had it imported to the US. I don't think that is available streaming or anything like that. But if you can find that, I think you're going to really enjoy that. That's just really good, because part of that too that I found very interesting is once Jane Asher's character starts saying that she's seeing stuff, and a couple other of the scientists start seeing things, they set up a quote paranormal investigation in 1972 with equipment that some of it is not too far from what we use today. And I think that that is very, very cool. You know what I mean? I think that's just really fun to see that even then. And Nigel Neal, who wrote it, is not a paranormal investigator. But because he's so good at writing, he's able to kind of think about, well, what's the sort of equipment that you would need if you wanted to, get readings on something, or check the energy levels, or to get any sort of responses or anything. And he was very good at that. He did a great job. And boy, if you can get your hands on it, it's well worth a watch. It's a little slow in places. It's 1972 BBC, drama, but it's really good. It's really, really good. And I'm looking forward to that. Courtney, I'm looking forward to having some of those tamales. Oh, you never offered me any. That's all right. That's right. I'm sure you're all going to have a great time with that, though. That's really exciting. Now, once again, folks, I am back tomorrow with Psychic Medium, Refined Divine, and we're going to be talking about certain experiences, about maybe how to protect yourself better as being a paranormal investigator. Also, we're coming up to the end of the year, so thank you all very much. Join us tomorrow as our last new show of 2025. We will talk with you all later. Everyone, have a fantastic night.